You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the debut episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always. We've got the full-time panel back with us. Wilson's here. Wilson, how are we?
Fine, thank you. Just so happy with the coefficient points we got this week. Great results from Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs and St Johnstone, so they're really doing their bit. Keep the coefficient going, so well done to those 4 teams this week.
Brilliant. Auchinleck Talbot's Mark Shankman's here. Shankers, how are we today?
I'm good, Scott. I'm a bit opposite to Wilson. I'm disappointed in one team for their performance this week, Nico.
We're going to touch on that later on. We're joined by the new face of BBC Sports Sound, Rory Loy. Rory, how are we?
Aye, not too bad. All good. Looking forward to the show tonight. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about the West of Scotland League. We've been overwhelmed with videos of Mark Shankman wonder goals, so looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it on the back of them.
Face for radio.
We are going to take a look at the West of Scotland Football League to kick the show off. Shankers, Auchinleck and Kilwinning share the top spot in the league. Auchinleck drew their first game and then have won their next 5. It's been a really, really impressive start. What's been your thoughts on the season so far for Auchinleck?
To be honest, although we're sitting in a right good position, I don't think any of the games we've been totally ourselves. I think it's been a wee bit of a slow start for us, to be honest, which I suppose can only be good for things to come. If we do click into gear, I think the game is. I mean, it's not like us to concede goals in games. To be honest, it's normally we can normally pride ourselves in clean sheets and then scoring at the other end of the pitch. So it is different for us. I mean, one of the things I said the other night that we can't keep having to rely on to score 2 goals to win a game of football. I'm sure that's the same at any level, but as long as we are winning, I suppose that's the main thing. But I think it's been a wee bit of a slow start from the players as a team, but obviously the results have been positive, so that can only be a good thing going forward.
Definitely. Wilson, your pal Chris Strain, his side Kilwinning are joint top with Auchinleck after beating Darvel on Wednesday night 1-0. Big result for them. But as well as that, I watched them against Bonnet and I thought they were really impressive. What's been your kind of thoughts in the season so far? Obviously, it's great just to have the football back, but what's been your kind of takeaways for the first 6 games of the season?
I mean, as I say, I've not managed to get to see my hero, Mark Shankland, so far this season, but just as he touched on there, you know, sometimes it's very satisfying to play not at your best and still win games. Don't think there's many surprises for the teams that are at the top of the table. I think we all kind of predicted that at the start, you know, Kilwinning, Darvel, Talbot, etc. would be there or thereabouts. What I have noticed is there's a lot of games that have been quite close, so as well, like as Mark says, they've had to, you know, they've conceded every game, so it's 2-1, etc. I think it was a massive result, you know, the other day, and David Symon's another former pupil of mine, Scott. You'll be pleased to know. So I can imagine his head and ego getting even bigger than he was. But he was a great guy. He was a great student. He was a good laugher, a very good coach. He was a very good coach as well. So pleased for him. Pleased for Chris Strain. And Chris is, and I think that's possibly, you know, where Chris has been over the course before. He's been at the Buffs a few years now, and they've kind of been there or thereabouts. He's made some good signings as well, and I'm really pleased. I think Mick will be disappointed. You know, I sometimes, you know, when you post the team lines and that, and I look at that Darvel team and I'm thinking, you know, I wouldn't be happy with Kilmarnock playing them the day with that lineup, to be honest. Good players, but that's, and as I say, Mick's been over the course before experience, but that's where, you know, it's good. But I think it's a marker for Kilwinning. You know, they've laid down, and I think it maybe shows the rest of the league that some of the slight negative press that Darvel get, that, you know, they can be beaten. They're not invincible. You know, sometimes 11 great players maybe just don't gel 1 or 2 games and they lose. But but it's a great 3 points for Chris. And as I say, but it's early in the season, but it's a nice marker to put down.
Yeah, definitely. Shankers, obviously Darvel, they've won their first 5 games and looked really, really impressive. And then obviously the wee bump in the road at winning. But today, obviously, we heard the news that they're going to have miss 2 games due to a COVID outbreak. It's obviously the first kind of COVID outbreak we've had this season. Is it something that you kind of thought was coming eventually, kind of thing, whether it was just the way it was going to go? Is it something you've all been kind of told what's like prepare yourself for?
I think it's something that we've lived with for the past year and a half, and to get football going, we knew it could have been a risk that it could have possibly happened, and it's not just one of the things, right? You're playing football and it's not going to be there. It's so easy for one person to develop it, and because you're in close contact, like physios doing treatments, players, even things like players playing against each other in games, like marking it corners and stuff like that. It could be things like that trigger it. But I think it is something that we knew was going to happen at some point during the season. It's unfortunate because, I mean, Darvel will not be wanting to try and catch up in games against this early stage of the season. I mean, that's 2 games missing, so it's going to be 2 games.
So they don't forfeit the points?
No, they'll just be rearranged.
I was just going to ask Shankers that, Rory. Are you aware of the legislation that happens? Because what I was going to say now, I would hate that teams would think down this way, but if you were a team and you're saying, right, we need to win this game to stay up, or we need to win this game to get in the top 4, whatever, and 3 or 4 of your players are injured, do we just say a COVID outbreak? There surely has to be some sort of legislation in place. That otherwise teams could be thinking, right, let's book a stag night for the 25th of November, then we'll just say we've got COVID so we can, there needs to be some sort of rules in place.
For example, just before COVID broke, we had like flu straight through our team. There was like 8 days off work and all that, and we had to get doctors' lines to then give to SIFA to prove that we had to get the game postponed at the weekend. I think we were actually quite lucky because it was something like 6 players. It had to be minimum 6 or 7 players out or something like that, and we had 8 or 9. So it was actually quite fortunate. Or we could have been in a position where we had to still play the game with 11, 12 players, but we had to get doctors' lines and stuff like that and get them all sent through. So it was quite a rigmarole. But I don't think Darvel I don't think anybody in the league are like that. Any teams are like that. Whereas if they're struggling for injuries, they could just say that. I don't think that's. I know what you're talking about later on in the season, but it's unfortunate, and I don't think any team wants to be catching up in games this early. But it's just one of the things that it's happened, and it's going to happen. It's not going to be the last time that it's.
Hopefully, COVID's a thing of the past come the end of the season as well.
The benefit Darvel have, I mean, I think they were away at Cumbernauld tomorrow, but they've got the floodlights, so they can catch up those games, with a couple of midweek games, instead of training as such, because they've got the benefit of that. So, as I say, I hope it's not too serious and they're all safe.
And positive as well as I think with the new rulings and stuff like that, which the age of the players, a lot of the players in Darvel, hopefully a lot of them will have had 2 COVID jugs as well. So say some of them go and test negative and etc. I think you don't have to isolate if you've had both jugs and test negative. As of Monday, I think that could possibly be a thing. So
I think at Mick's age, he's had the booster already. So I don't know if that's true or not. He's slightly older than me,
So hopefully nothing's too serious and they can get back playing, because as I say, I keep repeating it, but you don't want to be catching up in games this early on in the season. Just one of the unfortunate things that it's not going to be the last time it happens this season. It's just one of the things we've just got to deal with. I think it's good that you can play like Darvel, we've got floodlights, and a lot of teams have, and they can catch up games on a Wednesday night or that throughout the season, rather than have a big fixture pile up late in the season when the late nights start to come back. So it's just one of the unfortunate things that we just hope all the players are back fit well and very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Wish everybody at Darvel who's been affected a speedy recovery and hope they're all well. Shankers, obviously Clydebank and Hurlford are the other two teams that are unbeaten, but Pollock are thereabouts as well. There's only kind of 4 points separating the top 6 in the league. Is there any kind of teams in the league you've been surprised with, the kind of start they've had, or like positive or negative?
Just looking at the league table here, I think Wilson said earlier on there's been a lot of close results. I think there's been a lot of freak results today as well. In the same way, like Saturday, Wednesday, some teams turn to get the benefit of huge squads. So there's players playing 90 minutes Saturday, Wednesday. Maybe teams running 16, 17 players, injuries, suspensions, people can't make it due to work, etc. because of the level we're playing at. So I think there's teams in false positions as well because of the likes of the games and that we're playing in quick succession. So I think maybe
who's in a false position? Who should be lower than they are?
Who should be lower than they are?
Who's in a false position?
I think there's teams that are lower, that are in low positions, falsely because of likes of congested fixtures early on, and maybe, for example, Glenafton have played Pollock, Darvel, Colwyn, Irvine Meadow, all 4 out of the last 6 fixtures. So that is 4 tough games, whereas you might see them in the next couple of months going on a good run of fixtures that they think are favourable for them. And now that they've got 4 of the kind of so-called big hitters at the road, they might start picking up points later on in the season as the season goes on because the fixtures are at the road. So just for example, for that kind of an example that they're down there and they went and beat Irvine Meadow 3-1. I mean, Darvel had a late comeback against them, stuff like that. So
they've
I think
been in front 5 out of 6 games. I think I've seen.
I know you could look at that 2 ways. Like, is that a negative? Well, it's obviously a negative, but you could look at it 2 ways. Is it fitness or is it maybe they've got some young boys, so are they maybe inexperienced? I don't know. You could put your finger on anything. So I think Glenafton's in a false position for me. Just trying to look and get.
What about Kilburn? Like, obviously they've.
I know. I just seen
6 defeats in a row, and obviously Martin Ferry's left. Are you surprised that they're kind of start? Because we kind of said at the start of the previews, we didn't think, we knew they would kind of be one of the teams that maybe would be in the kind of relegation fight, but we didn't think they'd have that start to the season. Like, are you surprised?
Because we normally got I'm not saying normally, we've still got a tough game down there the other week there, and it was close. We took the lead early and went up 2-0 early on, and we brought it back to 2-1 through a wonder strike, and then we got our 2 goals later on in the second half when they were almost chasing the game and stuff like that. And we're normally down in Burnley, and it's a scrappy game, and it's always 1-0, 2-1 and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate for any manager to lose a job at any time, but for this early on in the season, I mean, losing 6? Losing 6 out of 6 isn't good, and there'll be supporters and stuff like that calling for change. So it is tough, and hopefully they turn the corner, because I know a good few boys down there, and you just want them to turn it around and do well. So fingers crossed they get an appointment in and they can start moving up the table.
Yeah, definitely. Wilson, what's been your thoughts in the table? Has there been any kind of surprises when you've had a wee look at it?
I'll be honest, I was quite surprised by Hurlford's position. Being undefeated. I know they've lost a lot of financial backing as well. Might not be able to attract the players that they used to be able to attract. So I think it's a tremendous start for Dan Henderson's team. Undefeated. And as I say, because I know Taz and some other kind of guys that have been there a while now are still there, but he did lose a few players as well. So I was surprised how they've managed to kind of maintain. I hope that continues through the season, because Dan's a really, really good coach as well. So as I say, but I'll be honest, I'm surprised with looking at their squad, who's not as strong as it used to be, that they're in that position. But
when we were doing the preview of the league, and Scott spoke to Dan and stuff like that, and I think Auckland spoke to him as well, and he was almost saying again that they're going to find themselves struggling this year. I don't know whether he's been clever and maybe taking the pressure off early goals, and
possibly,
and it's gave them freedom to play. But as you said, Dan's a top coach at this level. He's been around the block a few times, and they've got some right good players, right experienced players who have won plenty at this level. So that'll help with the balance of players that he's brought in as well. So I wouldn't say that it's always been up there year in, year out, but maybe with the overhaul of players that's come in and out, then maybe Dan expected him to be, as he come out and said in the papers and stuff like that. He said that we're going to be doing their fighting, but I'm not surprised they're up there because they've got players that have been up there at this level for year after year, basically.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch a wee bit in the conferences before we move on. Arthurlie obviously started Conference A flying 5 wins out of 5 Shankers. Do you think Arthurlie are going to come up? Obviously, they're one of the big hitters at the end junior football. Obviously, now we've moved to senior, but Arthurlie's always been a big name, isn't they? Are you surprised they've made the start they have?
No, really, because I think this is my kind of 7th or 8th season in the juniors, and they predominantly they've been in the top league through all my time there. I think they've been doing a couple of years now, but for them to come back up, I think they're a team that should be in the top league. It's kind of all I've known since I've played has Arthurlie been in the top league. So I'll not be surprised if they bounce straight back up. But I think it's also good to see like your Muirkirks and Craig Mart's teams down our neck of the woods up there, because there's some right good teams in that league. We played Johnstonborough in pre-season, and although we won 3-0, but it was a tough game. They've got a lot of good quality, and their team shots have got good quality as well. They've got the ex-Cumnock manager John McEwen there, and I know they've got some good players at their side. So there is some tough fixtures in that league. Girvan as well. They're a team that's been in the top league before, and they've got new management this year, so they'll be looking to push up the league. But I think it's good to see Kirkup competing with the teams, because it's a team over the years who have been predominantly in the Ayrshire District League and been the kind of lower end. So to see them up there, getting in about teams like Arthurlie and Bellsill, Shorts, Johnstonborough and stuff like that, who have been up there mixing it. It's good to see Muirkirk up there competing with teams like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Conference B as well. Ardee have made a terrific start. 5 wins and a draw. They're one of 3 unbeaten teams with Gartcairn and St Caddocks. Cambers Lang round about there as well with Greenock, and then you've got likes of Renfrew and Ashfield, Port Glasgow have made good starts. Who out of that league, Shankers, catches your eye?
Renfrew were in the league. I think it was the last season that we fully started. St Caddocks as well. I know that there's a lot of boys went for Glenafton to St Caddocks with the manager, Southie, Craig McEwen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually surprised they're not up there. But I've been following Ardee's progress, and on Twitter I've started following them in Twitter and looking for the results, because I'm right in saying that there was an amateur team and they kind of
Kilbride.
So they took kind of most of the players, or if not the whole squad, to Ardee, and they've had a couple run about that. So I just started following their progress, because I thought it would be good to see how they do. Maybe been a bit naive, and for the outside looking in an amateur team going up to juniors or seniors, almost think maybe been surprised that they're doing as well. But every week when I check the result, they're scraping. There's some ones that they're scraping through, and then there's some that they're winning comfortably. And I think it's they ones where you're scraping through 3-2 are just as good as winning 5-0, because it shows that they've got dig and fight to the end of games and get up there. I think they drew with St Caddocks, but it's a team that's just newly came for amateurs. They were a right good side in amateurs, for what I'm led to believe. So them coming to a senior outfit effectively, and been up there top of the league, unbeaten as well, and that's certainly a team that I'll be keeping progress on, keeping watching their progress throughout the season. So I'm interested to see how they do.
Aye. Conference C as well. Wishaw, Neilston, St Roch's top of the league in 13 points. From Chapel, Glasgow, Perthshire on 12, and then Peterstown on 11. Shankers, it's quite a tight league so far. All 6 of the teams are obviously, you've got names like Neilston and Petershill, where obviously, as you say, probably similar to Arthurlie, like probably are kind of established teams. Like, who's any of the teams kind of catching your eye?
we also played Neilston in pre-season as well, and it definitely wasn't played like a pre-season game. That's for sure. We scraped by 1-0, but it was a battle. Fiery challenges, stuff like that. So that will be a tough place to go for any team in the West of Scotland football leagues, and whether it's Premier Division all the way into the Division 4. So it's going to be. I think I'll be surprised if they're not up there or thereabouts. At the end of the season, Drumchapel won 4 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got to be one to look out for as well. So I would say Drumchapel and Neilston to be up there at towards the end of the season. St Roch's as well. Not really bored if they're up there at the end of the season.
Then obviously you've got Division 4, obviously the new league, Kilsyth, Finnart, St Peters. Kilsyth have obviously started with 5 wins and a draw. Finnart are 3 points behind them, and then St Peters. Shankers, out of those teams, is what's the can they go up? Can MD for Division 4 go up? I don't know how it works. Like,
I presume they can. I think it's because the amount the teams, I think they're all new to the West of Scotland setup, so I think I'd almost, rather than split them into the conferences, I think they just made them go in at a lower tier almost, like a tier 7 effectively. So I think either be a tier 7 or tier 6. I'm not.
User tier 6, and then I think they're
right,
tier
so they'll
7
be tier 7 then. So I presume the winner will go up, because if I'm right in saying it's going to be split into. Is it going to be split?
It's going to be a Premier Division, Second Division, Third Division, then a Fourth Division. I think that's the plan now.
So I think they will go up, and then the standings at the end of the season effectively will be how they're split into the league, because we've spoke about it. Well, Lachlan mentioned it a couple of times about 7 teams going into the league, and I think that's to make a 16-team league and then split it all up into divisions, and that's how it will work. So this season is going to be a wee bit false, I think, with teams in leagues and positions that they shouldn't be in. But I think once it gets rebiggered next season, we'll start to see where teams are at and how effective it will be, because there's some right tough teams that'll be able to compete at the high end, only going to get promoted because of the quality that's in the league. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season. I'm not too sure in a lot of teams in this division. For what I'm looking at, Kilsyth 5 out of 6, Finnart, St Peters 3 out of 4 as well. So it's going to be competitive, that one. That's for sure. I wouldn't fancy Hamilton pupils away on a Wednesday night, put it that way.
No, you would not. But we'll touch on the kind of this weekend's fixtures later on in the show. But we'll move on to the European fixtures, and hopefully Rory's not nodded off there.
Not at all. No, it's quite interesting. You don't realise how many teams are actually out there in Scotland. It's quite phenomenal, like how many there are, and it's quite actually nice hearing there's a few kind of Neilston and all that. You know, kind of played a lot in Ayrshire when I was younger. So just thinking back to all these ground games, quite interesting to listen to.
Aye, definitely. Wilson, we're also going to be covering the amateurs as well. How excited are you for that?
Oh, absolutely jubilant. It's the best league in Scottish football, and that includes the professional leagues. And you'll be getting in-depth analysis on every team when they beat Stirling.
I'm just going to be following Stirling's progress to see whether I'll be able to get a move there next year or not.
That's not a problem, because I'll stab the manager on the back. I'll be manager, get you in, captain number 10 up front.
But we'll move on to the Scottish champions, Rangers. They played their first Champions League qualifier in Sweden. 2 quick second half goals gave Malmo a quick lead before Davis scored I think a vital goal to give Rangers a chance to get through at Ibrox on Tuesday. Rory, we'll come to you. What was your overall reaction to the result?
I think it was disappointing. 2 very un-Rangers-like goals to lose if you're looking at the last kind of 12 months. I think they've got to be disappointed. That they would be expected to beat Malmo over 2 legs, and they've done so well away from home in Europe over the last couple of seasons, the last couple of seasons, to be fair, that maybe it's just the pressure of the Champions League, or maybe it's not something you would associate with Gerrard. Everyone talks about his professional standards, but did they slightly underestimate Malmo? I don't know, but I genuinely think as well, although Rangers had most of the possession and first half they were comfortable, there was a period in the game where you didn't know if it was going to go 2-1 or 3-0 because they still looked a little bit dangerous on the counter attack. Listen, they've got enough to go through the tie, but what they can't do is go gung ho because Malmo are a decent outfit, and tactically they knew where Rangers were strong. They pushed them into one area of the field, and Rangers struggled at times, especially in the second half. And can I just say that the boys, it kind of flew under the radar. The second finish was phenomenal. Like, you know, the defenders coming back, the striker recognises that, the goalies and the goals. What a finish, by the way! Just taps it right in the corner. I think when push comes to shove, Rangers will go through, but I can see Malmo potentially causing them problems at Ibrox, but I think they'll go through overall.
Wilson, what was your thoughts in the game? Obviously, you mentioned at the start the coefficient has went in your favour, but I do think Rangers will go through. What do you think?
Yes, I do as well. And just touch on a point that Rory said there about Gerrard's standards. You know, he was absolutely seething. You know, his interview after the game. I know, obviously, these guys are the utmost professional. We don't like losing, but I always try and look at the bigger picture. You know, they've had a decent pre-season and, you know, comfortably won their first league game, and then they've done well in Europe, and then they go to one game, they lose 2-1. You know, knowing it's only half time. You know, and he's I mean, you can see the guy, he's proper angry. The only, I mean, don't get me wrong, before I start getting abused on Twitter again, the only slight thing that, and I've mentioned this before and you've all mocked and laughed, which you usually do anyway, is it maybe the first time Rangers in the last while have played in front of a big crowd and maybe a wee bit of squeaky bum time. You know, I went on about Tavernier, how he's been slaughtered for 3 seasons, you know, in front of the big crowds at Ibrox, and all of a sudden there's no crowds there and he's the best player in the SPL. You know, so I wonder, and again, Malmo is the same as probably everyone else's tactic when they go to Ibrox, is frustrate the fans. I mean, and again, I know they've been locked out for a long time, and I mean, the atmosphere on Tuesday will be absolutely electric. You know, I know Gerrard put a call out to the fans, etc. The atmosphere will be electric. Now, can Rangers players cope with it? When you're talking about the opposition, can they cope with it? Can the Rangers players cope with it? Because it's been a long time since they've played in front of a big crowd. And as I said, and I know the team's, you know, progressed, etc. But it'll be interesting, but I still fancy Rangers comfortably to go through. I think it'll be 3-0 or something.
Totally agree with you with the crowd thing. Say for instance, it's 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, and you know if you win 1-0, you're going to extra time. Like, without a crowd, the players are trying things that know that they wouldn't normally try, but try to thread passes through a tough crossing for deep and stuff like that. I think when there's a crowd, I don't think it's right, but I think some of them change their game plan and be a bit more safer and stuff like that. I totally get your point, by the way, because I've been inside Ibrox many times and it's like that, moans and groans. It definitely does, but I think Tuesday night, and I know Wilson was slaughtered Gerrard about the call for the fans and all that.
The Lions Den, doesn't matter. Can we get out the fans and make it a Lions Den? What?
But I do think it could play an important part if they're right behind the team the whole night, if you know what I mean. I do think it has some. They're not going to win them the game if the fans aren't going to put the ball in the net. But I think getting behind them for the whole 90 minutes. I mean, if you're a player of any level and you're walking out and that's your backing, I mean, what else do you need? You know what I mean?
Rory, we spoke a lot about Rangers squad depth kind of towards the kind of end of last season, but you see, like with players like Morelos, Aribo, even Ruth, Kamara, when they're missing, there is something missing for that Rangers team, whether it's like a killer instinct. Like, see, obviously, if Morelos and Aribo are fit, obviously Ruth and Kamara are still suspended, but do you throw them in for a game like that? Like, if Morelos is anywhere near match fit, is the game kind of tailor-made for him?
Potentially. I know Ruth and Kamara aren't available again during the week. Itten always does okay, I think is the best word I would have to describe him. He does fine, but I think going into Tuesday, I wouldn't be surprised to see Morelos start. Whether he changes the formation slightly or does something a little bit different, and has it on the bench. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's every chance you might see Morelos start the game. Is it too early? I'm not quite sure, but it might be a 30-minute cameo. We'll wait and see in that one. But no, you're absolutely right. If you take these names out the team, then they're going to be weaker. You do have people in backup to come in and take their place. But I think when you get to Champions League level, and I appreciate what Wilson's saying, and listen, I agree with him. I think Rangers will go through the tie. There is more quality in these sides than generally speaking what Rangers are playing against most weeks, and that's no disrespect to the league. You get to that level of European competition. There's some right good players in that team, so maybe the difference between bringing on or changing the team 2 or 3 players against a Ross County or again, no disrespect to them, a Livingston, whoever it may be, maybe that drop in level playing against a Malmo, it's more apparent, if that makes sense. So it'll be an interesting one on Tuesday, but Gerrard would be wishing he had Roof available, because if he did, it would be Roof up front and Morelos on with 30 minutes to go. He's really got to decide whether he starts Itten. But like I said, I do agree with Wilson.
Sakala as well, good start.
Sakala as well. I don't know if you'll throw him in. I think Mamo will sit slightly deeper. I think Sakala likes the space in behind. I don't think he'll start him. I think that Roof, if he was available, or that Itten's available, I think he might go with Itten again. But I know he did come out after the game and say that several players have to raise their level. Is Itten one of those? I'm not quite sure, but he's usually quite drastic in his changes when he's not happy with something, Gerrard. But Sakala I would worry about, because I think Mamo will sit a little bit deeper. He loves the space in behind, and there's not going to be any space. However,
the midfield will change, because I don't think that three clicked. Like Davis, Arfield, Lundstrom, I don't think they clicked as much, but you might see Aribo maybe coming in.
Lundstrom was probably a bit of a yard off the pace, I would say. He was a little bit negative at times.
I think that's natural, though. I think
absolutely. He slowed it down a wee bit, and again, that comes back to maybe putting Sakala in, new teammates, etc., etc. So, do you want to take that gamble, that risk? For me, it'll come down to whether he starts Itten or Morelos. I may be totally wrong. He might start Sakala, but I think the way the game will go, Sakala's probably a better option, depending on how the game's going. To look at the bench and go, right, we need a goal. Or we're defending a lead, we need to hit them in the counter attack. Sakala's perfect, but I don't think Sakala will start the game. But again, maybe totally wrong.
Did you not find though? It I felt it actually worked against Eaton. I think he does okay. I'm the same as you. I don't think he sets the header on fire, but they were trying to thread balls and play, nice 1-2 touch through. They take Eaton off, they put Sakala on, and then they start launching balls into the box rather than trying to play to Sakala's strengths. They kind of got that wrong for me. And I know the players get tired, they maybe don't press and shut down as much, so it allows crosses in. But I think if they put a few of the crosses in for Eaton, I think he'd probably been on the score sheet.
That's the thing. That's the thing about football, Wilson, because I agree with you. But as a manager, he's got the perfect out because they scored. But no, listen, I agree with you. I mean, there's every chance that he might have got in the end of one of the crosses, etc. But I just don't know if he does enough to stay on the park.
We'll touch on Celtic's 4-2 victory over Jablonec as well to kick off the first win under Ange Postecoglou. Wilson, we'll touch on the signings first that Celtic made during the week before we touch on the result. What do you think of the signings of Joe Hart and particularly James McCarthy?
Well, I'll be honest, I think if they signed anyone with 2 hands would have been better than what they've already got. It just happens to be a guy with vast experience, played for his country at big tournaments, worth a lot of money in his day. So, I mean, I think that's a great sign. Whether he's going to be brilliant every week, I don't know, but he's a million times better than what we have at the moment.
We have.
I'm talking about Celtic just now, what we have at Celtic.
Interesting.
You should never let go of Craig Gordon, but that's all water under the bridge now. So I think Joe Hart's a good signing. Did he look great last night? The other night? No, he didn't. I thought in possession he was kicking the ball at the park, but then I would rather kick it out the park and pass track back four, to be honest. James McCarthy, he was a fantastic player at Hamilton Accies, and he's done well down south. My concern, I know it's been kind of touched on social media, is about his injury record. He spent a lot of time out injured, then a lot of time in the Everton bench and whatnot. But maybe this is the ideal move for him. Went down, made his career down south, back home, as such. 4-year contract, very, very surprised at that, but he's probably asked for that because I still think he could possibly end up, spending a bit of time on the injury table. But as I say, that's now Celtic get 3 players. They just need another 8 starters, and that'll them have a starting 11.
What did you think of the game? Obviously 4-2. There was goals. Abada got on the score sheet. I think he has looked kind of one of the best kind of signings they've made so far. Furuhashi obviously scored as well. Forrest Christie chipped in. But what was your kind of thoughts in the game? Obviously, I think it's a classic example of good going forward. You can see an idea, but the defence let them down.
The defence is so weak. It's so poor. Ball straight down the throat as well. The defence is a shocker. There's no excuse for that, and it's basic things like having no depth there and not someone dropping off to try and sweep up, etc. Silly holes. Still waiting for Greg Taylor to put crosses into the box, and they get forward okay, the fullbacks, but the centre half situation is something that massively needs addressed as soon as possible. Again, you can say the boy Starfelt's come in, he's played 2 games and he's been rubbish in both. Has he maybe got to get up to speed, etc. But I mean, I watched them, the Jablanek, and I thought they were absolutely terrible. I think Celtic had a couple of chances in the first. I mean, the keeper's made a couple of decent saves, and I thought they're all over the shop. Now, a Celtic team of the past, under Lennon, Rodgers, Dyla would have maybe taken 3 or 4 goals off them comfortably then away home. But as I say, I think even they'll think they're in the tie at Parkhead because of the simplicity of the goals that they scored against Celtic. So, but I think that's going to have to be Celtic's kind of way this season. They'll be again, you young boys. It was like the Kevin Keegan way at Newcastle. You score 5 and we'll score 6. I think you're backing this year's both teams to score, Celtic to win at Parkhead. I think that's going to be your bets of the season because, as I say, that defence is so poor, and even somebody as good as Alan McGregor playing in front of that defence would concede goals. But I see Welsh might come back in tomorrow. Again, I don't think he's the answer, but he's probably better than the 2 that are playing just now. So, as I say, I don't think Jablanek are out the tie, to be honest with you, because I think they'll be able to smell a bit of blood in terms of scoring at Parkhead next week.
Rory, obviously a lot's happened since the kind of season's kicked off. Obviously the defeat to Hearts on Sunday, and then obviously the first win. What's been your thoughts in the Celtic situation so far? Are you kind of with what Wilson was saying the other night? It's just been recruitments maybe we kind of let them down, and you can see an idea of what they're trying to do, kind of thing. How have you kind of assessed it so far?
I think Wilson touched on one thing there, which is abundantly apparent, which basically tells a story where Celtic are at. Joe Hart, what is he, 34, 33? James McCarthy at 37 years between them. That any player who's getting a phone call for Celtic right now to say they're interested, their agents rubbing their hands together, because the balance of power at the moment could not be more with the player. See if Celtic were in a better position and hadn't had such a bad year last year and hadn't recruited so badly and didn't need such a big changeover in players, James McCarthy gets a 2-year deal with an option and Joe Hart gets a 2-year deal. But because they're so desperate for players and they've started so poorly this season in terms of going out the Champions League and losing to Hearts, and it's going to be the same with a centre-back. A new centre-back's going to walk in with a bumper deal on what he should be on because they're that desperate to get people in. So that the fact that they've got a 3 and a 4 year deal between them, and don't get me wrong, if James McCarthy stays fit, he's one of these players that will, I think, improve the likes of your Turnbulls a lot as well. Just with his calmness in the middle of the pitch, keeps possession, encouragement, etc. It takes a lot of pressure off the likes of your Turnbull. The fans are looking at him at the moment. Club like Celtic, that's not easy. See if you need to be the man that changes it or need to be the guy that does something. That's tough. I think when you've got all eyes on James McCarthy, everybody will be watching him on Sunday if he's playing. It then gives Turnbull a little bit more freedom, and he's got a cracking player behind him who's going to look after all the other bits. So, listen, I think if he can stay fit, he'll be a cracking signing. And as Wilson says, Joe Hart maybe a bit rusty the other night. There's no doubt in his quality when I don't think his distribution, his best ability, but he's certainly a top shot stopper. So it'll be an interesting one to see who else they bring in, but they're going to need to do it quick because Starfelt needs an actual centre back beside him. He doesn't need a young boy beside him or a centre mid playing at centre back. So they need to get people through the door, but to answer your question, what do I think of Celtic? I think you just need to look at the length of the contracts they've just given out to two 30-plus-year-old players to see where they're at.
You don't think Julian will be the partner once he comes back?
Once he gets back to Dubai, might fancy it.
Do you think
still need more than
bring another one?
two centre backs? You'll need to.
I think they'll be happy. Maybe be happy with Julian, and then like say Stephen Wells and that.
Julian for me is not tough enough. In Scottish football, you need to be tough.
You want four centre backs, I think, especially if they do get through these ties and are competing in Europe. I don't think Julian Starfelt, the lad Welsh, and the other young lad, I just don't think that's enough. I think you want four first team players competing for your centre back positions, and then you've got your young boys kind of coming through behind that. Three at minimum. If he is in his head going, it'll be Julian and Starfelt as well. Julian's going to take, and bear in mind, Julian took quite a few months to adapt when he first signed, and then he came good, to be fair to him. So after a long injury, it may take him a few months to get back fit, and Celtic don't have that time.
I can almost think Celtic have written this season off, and they'll make so many signings to try and gel them together this season before they try and do something next year. That's hard to accept for Celtic supporters, but I think so many signings, regardless of how good they are, is going to take time for them.
At what point, Wilson, in your opinion, does it change for it's not the manager's fault to fucking hell, Ange, it's not good enough?
It'll be 6 games. It'll be 29th of August. When they lose 5-0 to Rangers, that'll be that. That's the. Do
you think it would take something like that though to turn the pressure on the manager? Do you think?
Absolutely. It's any Rangers manager. I mean, I know we've listened to interviews with Mark Warburton and these guys that were in and out at Rangers at the time. You're losing an Old Firm game. You're under pressure.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, and freak results can happen. If Ange was to beat Gerrard 5-0 in the 29th of August, Steven Gerrard's under pressure.
But you do. Do you see the idea? Do you see what he's trying to do going forward? Look, they do look as if they can play some decent stuff. I thought Abada was. There's something with him. I just think he could be a real talent. But again, the Edouard situation we'll touch on in a second. What's your kind of thought, Shankers? Do you kind of see what they're trying to do?
I think you can see it in spells, but then you can also see like the Celtic we've seen, like over the last year or so. You can still see part of that, and of course it's going to be there because there's a new manager still there with those players of the past, and I think you will see you can see like when they're going forward, signing what he's trying to do. I agree with Rory on the Joe Hart distribution. I don't think that's the way that the manager wants to play, but I don't think he's been left with many options, so he's had to just bring in a goalkeeper and almost then let him adapt to the style of play. I've seen a couple of times he's tried to play it for the back last night, but you can tell it's not what he's used to, put it that way. So I think it will take a wee while for the players to adapt. I think if you keep McCarthy fit, it's a right good signing, but then it is just trying to keep him fit is the problem. But I'm with Wilson. I'm not going as far as they need 8 starters, but I do think they still need 4 or 5 quality players to compete at the level that they feel they should be competing at, and they rightly sure should be competing at European and top end of the SPL table. But I do think they need 4 or 5 players.
One thing I would disagree with Wilson is that Celtic will take 5 or 6 off that Jablonec at home.
You think they will?
Like you're saying Jablonec will still think they're in the tie. I don't. I think deep down they know they're out.
I think it'll be 4 or 5.
They've not got a chance.
Okay.
What about
I've never been wrong in my predictions before, so I don't intend to start now.
I seen on the Edouard thing. I seen that there's potential of a deal being done with Brighton next week. I think it's a strange one, to be honest.
No, because he doesn't want to be there.
I'm not saying I'm not surprised that he's leaving, but
do you think he's better than Brighton? I
think he's better than Brighton, yep.
But are Brighton looking at it going, because we've spoken this before, Wilson. Do you
Right,
look
I've
at,
got Gary Dicker now. Gary Dicker will give him 30 assists. No danger. What a player.
do you think it's the best thing to just get cash in and Edward and get as much as you can?
Right. Mark's right.
See
Doesn't
the
want
money-
to be there, get
see
rid.
the
I
money-
was the same. Doesn't want to be there, get rid.
They need to reinvest the money that they get for Edward back into the squad, or the fans will.
But
will
do they
be
know?
going-
Do
I
they
mean, the
know?
strike-
Do they know? Are they not due PSG 40%?
Yeah, 40% of profit.
So how much? So they bought him what?
40%.
Of profit.
40%, mate. So if they bought him for 9 million and they sell him for what? Even say 20 million. I'll let Wilson do the maths. That's his department. But
Well, it's 11 million profit, so maybe
That'd
4.5.
be 8 million for PSG, Rory.
It's 40% any profit.
aye, so you're going to need to sell him, and then what you include what the player might get, what the agent might get. You know, but that point you're going to need to sell him for 25 million plus to actually make a decent amount to reinvest in the squad, and that's just the way the
We're
world
not
is.
to sign Mark Shanklin for Talbot then. That'll be enough.
But
5 million.
that's the thing as well. You need to replace Edward. Plus the fact there's no real strikers there that they trust. Like Ayeti's kind of been hung out to dry, but he's kind of been tried and tested. The Griffith situation's obviously no help. They need a minimum of 2 strikers. Do we know?
I would agree with Shankers about him being better than Brighton. Shankers, do you think that his attitude over the last kind of little while has put other bigger clubs off? Maybe your Evertons or your that kind of one step higher? Do you think it's put the likes of them off?
I don't know about his attitude, but
His attitude's been stinking the last couple of games, no?
but I think even performance levels last year as well. I mean, I think he had his peak was finishing that season previous to last, and then his performances have been a bit kind of good against what?
Abject.
Good against your Hamiltons, and he's, for me at times he's a luxury player when things are going really well. He's really good, but when the chips are down, is it somebody you're wanting in your team? I think that you're kind of seeing that now, and I like to see him not even starting that game yesterday and stuff like that. Is that almost him just coming to the end? I've been reading things online, Celtic supporters, and they're almost just getting fed up with him the way he's maybe his body language and stuff like that when he's gone on the pitch and things. So I think they're almost want to cash in, get the money, and whatever they get, reinvest it in quality at that end of the pitch, because it will be hard to replace, because when he's on his game, he's a top player. So it will be hard to get something in that they're going to need to go and buy somebody for 6, 7, 8 million pounds to replace him. But have they got somebody lined up ready to go? I don't know, because the season's already kicking off, and season in England and stuff like that is kicking off as well. Is this Japanese player already his replacement? I mean, who knows what's going on, but Wilson's face says otherwise. But I still think they need to reinvest the money that they get from him in other areas of the pitch if they're not going to reinvest it in that striker.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to move on to the other 3 ties that took place on Thursday night. Rory, St Johnstone picked up a massive 1-1 draw in Galatasaray. Obviously, the Galatasaray had a man sent off, and there was a St Johnstone converted a penalty. How big are results have for St Johnstone, and do you see them capitalising on it?
I don't even think it's for St Johnstone. I think it's for Scottish football. A team like St Johnstone, you know, a lot of these kind of smaller teams that you see from all over Europe playing that you've never heard of, whatever else. People all across Europe take notes of that and going, who's St Johnstone? Where are they from? Who plays for them? That type of idea, you know. Your kind of football fanatics looking at it, because that's a huge result there. Don't get me wrong, they don't get to a lot of European Championship finals anymore, or you know, they don't go far in European, etc. But they're a household name in Europe. Everybody knows Galatasaray, and everyone can remember them playing at the kind of the highest level and things like that. So for St Johnstone to go out there and not just be competitive but get a result, it's unbelievable, is what I would say. And flying the flag for Scotland, and Hibs and Aberdeen, which we'll come on to as well, doing the same. So it's good, and it's good as for the coefficient, and hopefully we can continue to do that. And you just never know. There's we've got a magic under Callum Davidson, there seems to be. So you never know. They might just get through that time.
Yeah, they could do. It's obviously they're going to McDermott Park on Thursday night with the draw. It's a big result for them. Wilson, what was your thoughts on that? Did you watch it?
I saw wee bits and bobs. I've always been a big fan of Callum Davidson and his St Johnstone teams. Did really well. You know, when I watched the first 20 minutes and I thought this could be ending. You know, this could be ending. I mean, looking at guys like Van Aanholt and Babel and all these guys, but I think I've got to give credit to maybe Lachlan, who's probably given Callum Davidson a rundown in Turkish football strengths after his unbelievable Turkish analysis prior to the Euros, which served them well. But I think Rory's like, I think Turkish football's kind of on a lull at the moment. As I said, it actually wouldn't surprise me to see Galatasaray turn up and win 5-0, but equally it wouldn't surprise me if St Johnstone win 1-0.
No. Shankers, what do you think?
When I was talking about the result to someone, and they made a point that the Turkish teams don't really travel very well in Europe when they're playing at home. They've got the backing of the supporters, and it's like welcome to hell at times. You see when you're playing in Turkey with the way supporters and the passion that they are, but when they're away from home, they don't travel for well. So I think it could be a tight game. I'll be very surprised if St Johnstone go through, put it that way. But they done almost as good as what they could have coming away there, with still being in the tie for the second leg. I mean, they could have went there and get battered 4-5-0 and then the tie's dead, but they're still in the tie. So fingers crossed they can pull off a result, but I'll be very, very surprised if they do.
We'll move on to Aberdeen. They also picked up a big 3-2 result in Iceland against Breidablik, which is a great pronunciation for me, I think. Christian Ramirez got a double. Wilson, what do we think of Aberdeen? That's obviously a big result, and they look as if they're kind of rock solid to maybe get through to the playoff round of the new Conference League. Scott Brown, I want to touch on with you. I know I'm keen to kind of get Rory's thoughts on Scott Brown as well. The Aberdeen player, since he's come in, we've spoken about how much of an impact he's made. How big a player is he going to be for Aberdeen?
Well, again, he's obviously went there to try and kind of, not say finish up his career, but I actually thought when he signed his coaching role would take priority over his playing role, but it seems to be the other way about. But then when you've played, you know, big games like Scott Brown has and been successful for club and country, then you know it's going to be a difference to the guys. No disrespect the guys that play for Aberdeen. So it can just be different wee things. And now, again, like criticise him, but I'm sure when Rory went to a massive club like Rangers, there was things done differently that probably enhanced his game, whether it be even things off the pitch, lifestyle, etc., or the things you eat, more input for sports science, learning from guys that probably some of the best players in the country at the time. So, and again, I think that's the same, not maybe a bit different at Aberdeen. Scott Brown's obviously played in Scotland, and maybe just wee things he's bringing to the Aberdeen dressing room are having an impact. As I say, again, I picked him as signing of the season just for that aspect. Like, he's the most successful player in that Aberdeen team, and we've spoken about his strengths and his weaknesses, you know, in his performances. So again, I think he'll be a good sign. I'm a wee bit worried later on that, you know, is he going to play every week, and then or is he going to win every week? Is he going to be a great signing? But it's good to see the other players are coming out and commenting on it, and seeing the impact he's had for an old head, and it can only benefit younger players, which I'm sure Mark and Rory have experienced. You know, older players giving them wee bits of advice. Probably very much the same at other clubs. You know, won't take any advice from him. Guys like Steve Davis must be passing on things to Aribo and Sakala and the young guys, etc. So it's good to hear him getting positive praise. I know he doesn't get much positive praise from some of the panelists on here, but that's life.
Rory, what's your kind of response to that? Obviously, as you said, it's a big result for Aberdeen, but are you surprised that all the players are saying just how much an impact Brown's had on them?
First and foremost, obviously, Wilson touched on me going to Rangers. The food and everything at Grant Jones' house, his mother's house, was by far and away better than anything I ever had at Murray Park.
I don't believe that out there.
No, listen, I've always said on the show, in my opinion, Scott Brown's strengths are he's a great captain, he's a great leader, and he has an impact on the players around him. what I've also previously said on the show is that I think had Rangers been in the league for the duration of the time he was at Celtic, he probably would have found the amount of trophies and things, and as being as influential as he did have, much harder to come by. However, he's a fantastic captain, a fantastic kind of leader. And of course, if he's played in European games before, but the one area of the pitch where Aberdeen are now, kind of doing well compared to where they haven't been is up top, and Boy Ramirez seems able to bag a striker's goal.
Yeah.
I seen the boy Conor McLennan's touch the other night to then play it across to him. It was a lovely touch. So look, they've got a spine up the middle of the pitch. You've got Joe Lewis, Scott Brown, Lewis Ferguson, big players, strong players, Ross McCrory as well there. Now, if you can add Ramirez into the mix there. One thing I will ask is, if you're Joe Lewis, are you, given how you played for Aberdeen, and are you a little bit raging inside that they stripped the captaincy off you? Regardless of the fact Scott Brown?
Got to be part of it. That is because he's been arguably one of Aberdeen's better players over the years, and a reason why they've got to cup finals and they're sitting third in the table a lot of the years. So there's got to be part of it, but you can also, on the flip side, you can see why he's done it, stuff like that. But I'm sure Pikey done an interview with Gavin Ray, and he was in a similar situation at Rangers, where it wasn't somebody coming in, but somebody was kind of getting edged at the team, and he was asked to take the captaincy off. I think it was Barry Ferguson at the time. Yeah. So it's a similar situation, and he probably, I think, if you're watching the interview, I think Gavin Ray almost felt as if he didn't. Like, it was one of the best moments, but also kind of a low moment as well, because he realised that was kind of almost Barry Ferguson's time up at Rangers as well. So it's probably kind of mixed emotions for him as well. But you've got to be party that is a wee bit gutted, and I'm sure there's been a lengthy conversation had and why it's been.
I just think that Brown would still bring all of his qualities in, and you could keep Joe Lewis as captain, and when Brown's not playing, etc. The only advantage I see to it is maybe Brown's positioning in the middle of the pitch. But again, I don't think he needs to be a captain to bring all the qualities he can bring as a leader. But it's an interesting one.
I think it's not as if Joe Lewis is going to be upset lifting trophies. I'm not going to win it. Do you know what I mean? So, but what does the captain do? In terms of maybe sorts the Christmas night out. A team like Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean?
I think Lewis will play a lot more games. Lewis is going to play probably every game, and Brown maybe no play every game. I mean, I think the way he's been talked about.
It's a weird one as well. He's no the. I think Lewis is still the team captain, but I think Brown's a club captain or something. It's no like there's something it's something weird about it, isn't it? Like
called a cop out.
What does that even mean?
Possibly.
Like basically, like Wally Lyle's the team captain, but everybody knows I'm the top boy. Is that basically what it is?
Aye, pretty much. Aye.
Another Willie Lyle mention in the Scottish football show, but we'll talk about Hibs' 1-1 draw with Rijeka, who are probably just behind Zagreb, probably the second best team in Croatia. Shankers, do you think Hibs still have enough to win the tie?
I think going back, knowing that you just need to win the game is enough for them. I think all the Scottish teams should still be fancying themselves to get through when you look at it that way. But I think Hibs should be strong enough to get through. Yeah.
Rory, what's your thoughts on Hibs?
They look good. I think they'll get through the tie at Easter Road. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that the way rules have been scrapped at this stage. It's a decent result to pick up away from home, but listen, they look good. They look strong. They looked good against Motherwell at the weekend. They looked a little bit susceptible at the back. However, the boy Van Veen played exceptionally well, to be fair. But I think they look good. I think them and Aberdeen will both go through their ties, and they'll start the season strongly. It's just when one or two bad results come in, or injury, suspensions, etc., to key players, that's when you find out what these teams are capable of over the course and distance. But think I'm in the minority in saying that I was a little bit disappointed the away goal rule was scrapped. I quite liked it. Made it a little bit more tactical and interesting. So
I think everything just is going in favour of the so-called bigger teams. No, like I remember Porto, Juventus in the Champions League last year, I think it was, and Porto's away goal ended up taking them through. And if that doesn't stand, Porto going to extra time, I think it was extra time actually, but it goes all in favour of Juventus at home kind of thing. So I think it's all going in favour of the kind of so-called bigger teams now.
Wilson, what was your thoughts on Hibs' draw with Rijeka on Thursday night?
I think as long as you don't get beaten the first leg, I think it's a positive. You know, I think they've started the season reasonably well. Hibs, they ground out a result. You know, Motherwell probably better than Motherwell on the day. So it's a good result. I agree with Rory. I think all the Scottish teams and we as a nation will be very proud of the coefficient points this time next week.
Right, let's move on to the weekend. We've got 6 games to cover before we look at the other games across the SPFL. Shankers, Rangers start the weekend with a trip to Dundee United. What's your prediction for that?
I think you always got a tough game up at Tannadice. At a moment a magic for the Tavern there. The last time we were up there. The last time Rangers were up there. It takes moments like a quality like that to separate the games, especially away from home in this league. I don't think you get any easy away fixtures, and especially early on in the season. Dundee United are probably one of the teams that I think could struggle this season, so Rangers will be looking to capitalise on that. But I think at this stage of the season, 3 points is a must. Whether they win 1-0, 5-0, 5-4, I think as long as Rangers get 3 points at this stage of the season, I think they'll give them something to build on.
Rory, what's your thoughts?
I think it'll be a tough game. I agree with Shankers. There's, going away from home can be tough. I think Dundee United are a bit of unknown quantity with the manager they've got. They've obviously got some household names, and Nicky Clark, Lon Shankland, boys that are capable of scoring goals and things. And I think Dundee United will be one of these teams this year that they'll win a game 3-0, and you go, how have they done that? And then the next week they'll go and get beat by 3-4. I think they're very unpredictable. So will they raise their game against the Old Firm? We'll wait and see. I expect Rangers to win the game but I think it'll be by the odd goal. And I think the couple of goals that Malmo scored will maybe knock their confidence a bit. So I would say Rangers to win. Both teams to score, Rangers to win.
Wilson, what do you think for Rangers at Tannadice tomorrow?
I know walk all over Dundee United. I think they're really poor. Again, there was more kind of rumours about Shankland leaving this week again, with bids from a couple of English teams and a Belgian team. And if he goes, I would really, really fear falling, to be honest. So I'm a comfortable Rangers win 3-4-0.
Dundee United still get McNulty.
No, he's left. He's back I think he's back at Portsmouth.
He
was up on loan. But we'll touch on our game. There's another game tomorrow. St Mirren play Hearts. We'll just quickly get around the panel. Shankers, give us a score prediction for St Mirren and Hearts.
2-1 Hearts. Hearts done well to beat Celtic. Anybody that beat Celtic does well, but I wasn't like oh my God, Hearts are back to their best of that. I think they've done enough to win the game, but I didn't think that was exceptional in the night.
Rory, what do you think? Hibs Ross County?
Hibs Ross County? Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to ask me about.
No, sorry, St Mirren Hearts. My mistake. I'm
that was a curveball in there. She's
He
had everything he was going to say ready to say it, and you just got that one in.
St Mirren Hearts. We'll go with that before we move on to Hibs Ross County.
One each for me. Two good sides. Two I think will do well. I think you'll see one of those sides finish 6th and one of those sides finish 7th this season. So I think all our fixtures this year will be pretty close. So I'll go with one each.
Wilson, St Mirren Hearts.
2-0 St Mirren. The Wolf and Greg Kilty to score.
They look good. The two of them up front, Main and Brophy last week.
Aye, but if Brophy gets around the games, he'll score goals because he just shoots from anywhere. So if he gets his shooting boots on, he will do well.
Still baffling that how he left Kamala.
Well, very.
How he wasn't getting a game at that point. Very strange.
Rory, tell us where you're going to be on Sunday.
I should be working. my day job. But I'm going to cover the Celtic Dundee game, so looking forward to that. Looking forward to it. It'll be good to go and see a game. It's just nice to be in stadiums whenever I've done it the odd time over the last few months. It's nice to be in stadiums, and it's nice to feel the atmosphere again and things like that. Being a Scottish football fan in general, it's nice to go to Dens Park, it's nice to go to Livingston, it's nice to go anywhere really, but it'll be nice we change of scenery. I've not been to Celtic Park too many times, obviously. Only kind of played in the top league for a short spell, so it'll be good. Looking forward to it.
What's your score prediction?
2-0 Celtic.
Wilson, will you be looking forward to tuning in to BBC Sports Town on Sunday afternoon?
No, I don't want to listen to biased commentary from a Dundee legend. I think Paul Hartley would have been more suitable in the co-coms, having played for both teams.
I think they should actually have got them both on. It would have been that
would have been nice. That would have been a nice wee reunion for them.
Paul Hartley never played for Dundee.
No, but he was a top coach for them.
It was just a man. I thought he played for Dundee. No,
you're all about facts, so I just corrected me.
All right, okay. Well, Dundee, Celtic legend, Dundee manager, get him on. Again, I don't know whether Celtic, continuous games, playing two a week for the last few weeks. So I think 2-1 Celtic, I'll go.
Shankers, Celtic, Dundee.
Celtic, think it could be comfortable. I just think going forward they'll have too much for them, and it's one of the ones, if you're sitting in defending, there's only so long you can sit in with getting broken down. I think once maybe one goal goes in, they'll get another two or three even. So I think it could be tonight, but I'll definitely no have the radio on Sunday.
Also, what was your prediction? I missed it.
2-1.
2-1.
Hibs Ross County finally will get there. Rory, give us a wee prediction for Hibs Ross County.
I think Hibs will maybe be a wee bit leggy after 3-2 last week against Motherwell, and then trip to Croatia and things like that. I still think we'll have enough. I've tipped Ross County for relegation and to finish bottom this year. So again, both teams to score. Hibs to come good late on and win it 2-1.
Wilson, what we got at Hibs Ross County?
Is that Easter Road, aye?
Yes.
2-1 Hibs.
Shankers?
2-0 Hibs.
I've
not heard much of Ross County this season, but I can imagine them being down there the bottom for the majority of the season.
We'll move on to Livingston Aberdeen. Wilson, give us a prediction for Livingston Aberdeen.
1 each.
Shankers?
Where's it at, Livy?
It's at Livingston, yep, the Tony Macaroni.
1-0 Aberdeen.
Rory?
I think that'll be low scoring. I'll agree with Shankers. I'll go 1-0 Aberdeen.
And we'll move on.
The Jet to score against his old club.
The final game of the Premiership will take place between St Johnstone and Motherwell. Shankers, give us a prediction for that. The Scottish Cup champions against the Graham Alexander's men.
You were trying to think of something. One in the last 25
the 1989 Scottish Cup.
The 1948 Cup finalists.
You ever seen, just to go off topic, you ever seen in Sky Sports when the wee banner up introducing people and like somebody's on like just random, and it was like under 17s under 17s internationalist final or something like that.
Toilet.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that before.
Right, Motherwell St Johnstone. Where's it at? McDermott Park.
That's at McDermott Park. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 0-0. St Johnstone almost gave it all on Thursday night. Going to be very leggy, and don't think Motherwell have got much quality this year. Apart from Robbie Crawford, so I'll go 0-0.
Wilson, what we thinking? St Johnstone Motherwell? You standing by your pal Callum?
No, I think they'll suffer a wee bit of a European hangover, and I think Motherwell will win 1-0.
Rory, what we got?
I'm going to say I disagree with Shankers a wee bit. I thought Motherwell looked okay in spells last weekend. I thought the boy Kevin Van Veen was a handful and also held the ball up well and had a wee bit of quality. But I don't know. I think Motherwell will struggle this season. I really do. And I think people kind of be expecting Motherwell to get a result for the reasons that Wilson says there. But I don't know. There's just something about St Johnstone at the moment. So I'm going to go 2-0 St Johnstone.
I just said they'd struggle this season. You said I disagree with Shankers.
I did? About what?
What? Did you not just say you disagreed with me there? Do I get mixed up now?
I don't know.
He said they agreed with me in terms of people thinking St Johnstone will suffer a European hangover.
I thought he said he disagreed with me that Motherwell will struggle, then just went, but I think Motherwell will struggle. Sorry, I said I think they've got a bit of quality up the top end. Oh, right.
But I think they'll struggle because you'd say they lack quality. But I thought the boy Van Veen was quite good.
We will touch quickly on. We'll go around the panel. Are the other SPFL games? Who's that team we fancy that are going to win? If we kind of looked at the other fixtures, Wilson, I'll come to you. Who's a team in the other kind of 3 leagues you fancy to win this weekend?
Kelly, away at Queen of the South.
Shankers.
Be a tough game, right enough. Be a tough game, but I think Kelly will win.
What did you think of them on Monday night?
I thought that. I didn't think Kelly were exceptional, to be honest, but they were miles ahead of here, to be honest. Again, but always think it. You know, again,
the establishment helping out as well.
I don't want to get into the politics of it all, but I think they made it a better game if there'd been United fans there, to be honest.
But
I actually thought Kelly were really comfortable, but I didn't think they were brilliant. But again, and this is what I was trying to explain last week. You know, Alston and McGinn and these guys are good championship players. You know, and they've been over the course before. So as I say, I think Kelly will do really well this year. And I think they're kind of experiencing that show because they have a few young boys playing. But I fancy Kelly strongly this season anyway, so I think they'll go to Queen of the South and pick up 3 points tomorrow.
It's very difficult to play good football at Queen of the South. It's a horrible tight pitch.
Again, I don't think Kelly are going to play tiki-taka football this year. I think they've brought in guys that know the championship. The guy Murray from Dunfermline looks a real good player. Does his job, no thrills. And I just, again, in his Cameron, and I know he got a lot of praise this week. However, I saw him a few games, when he come on the SPL, and he didn't look much. It was just the pace of the game or whatever, but he really, really struggled. Then he went on loan to a couple of first or championship teams, you say, and did well. And then as soon as as soon as the relegation was done, he was the first player to get a contract. And as I say, if his performance on Monday's end to go by, then great. But again, I do worry if he can keep that level of performance up over a full season.
Easy to get up for a game like Monday, innit?
Of course, yeah. But I still do think Kelly need to bring in another striker.
Nah, definitely. Let's talk a couple of strikers we mentioned today. Shankers, give us a team in the other 3 leagues you think will win this weekend.
Maybe not pick an exact. I mean, I could pick a team that I think will win if you want. I mean, I think Hamilton will beat Morton, but just one I want to touch on. I think Queen's Park Rangers could be a good fixture this weekend. 2 teams that will fancy themselves to get up and win the division. So I think that could be a good fixture.
Yeah, similar to that, I think Inverness Wraith in the Championship could be a good fixture as well. That's one that caught my eye. Rory, what about you? What's your team this weekend that you think could win in the SPFL Championship League One or League?
It was actually the game Shankers just touched on. I think Queen's Park will win comfortably. 2-3-0.
Who's the Cove manager? Them to know.
Paul Hartley.
No, I genuinely think Queen's Park will do well this year.
Were you surprised surprised they went for Laurie Ellis as manager? Queen's Park.
I suppose so. I mean, they've got some money. They probably could have brought in, somebody a little bit more experienced in things. But he's obviously got a good reputation. He's worked with Ray McKinnon as well, who has got connections with Queen's Park previously. So he's maybe had a good recommendation and things like that as well. But certainly one thing I always noticed about Laurie Ellis on the side of the pitch, he was always very calm, which is something I enjoy. I'm not a huge fan of managers ranting and raving and shouting on the side of the pitch. But anyone I've ever spoke to is I don't know the guy that well. I mean, I don't know what he's like tactically as a coach, etc., etc. But everyone I've spoken to, seems to like the guy. So you're off to a start if people like you, I think. So, it was a little bit surprising given the money they've got. They maybe could have went for somebody with a little bit more experience within those divisions. But we'll wait and see. But I think it'll be a tight game at the weekend. But I think that scoreline wise, Queen's Park will have enough and run away 2 or 3-0 winners.
Brilliant. We'll touch on the West Premier Division quickly before we finish up. Shankers, just take a trip to Kilmarnock to the Synergy Arena to play Bonnyton. Are you as confident as we got a victory?
I think maybe we spoke about earlier, we're on a kind of positive run, although performances haven't been there, the results have been positive. So I don't see why we shouldn't be confident going there and getting a result. We're Bonnyton another week there, although most of the results haven't been too positive. We know they're capable of a good result because they beat Pollock 3-1 at home. It's no mean feat beating Pollock by any means. So we know that they're capable on their day of beating anybody. But this is just the same as us. We're confident that on our game we can beat anybody. So fingers crossed that there'll be another 3 points and hopefully a wee clean beat as well.
Definitely. We'll just run through the Premier Division fixtures quickly and we'll pick a game out. Bees play Hurlford, Blantyre, Rob Roy, Bonnyton play Auchinleck, Clydebank Lags, Cumbernauld Darvel's obviously off, Cumnock play Irvine Meadow, Glenafton Benburb, Kilburnley play Troon, Rossvale Pollock and Rutherglen play the Buffs. Wilson, out of that, what's the tin of tie that sticks out to you? Do you remember?
I think Beath Hurlford might be quite tasty. Both good teams, maybe not great in the level they've been at in previous years, but both very good teams. That could be an interesting one.
And we used to train back in the day, remember Wilson? Back in the day, the under-17s, Beath, right next to their pitch.
That's right. Beath like that.
Massive hill on it.
In the minibus. But again, as I say, all of us other commitments. But if I was to pick a game to go and watch tomorrow, it
would be Bonnyton and Talbot.
It would be Bonnyton and Talbot. I think, go and see Alan Robertson and Paul Wright. I mean, those Bonnyton players will be well coached, as Rory will vouch for. And spent his seasons under Alan Robertson as well. Those players will be well coached. Whether at the level of the Talbot players, I wouldn't have thought so. But I can see Talbot winning comfortably. But that would be my pick of the games to go to tomorrow.
Yeah, my pick would be probably Cumnock Irvine Meadow. I can't go due to work, but that would be my game to go to. But
I see that being a standout one just for reasons like Blatton, Spenny, and that. I've got connections walking against Cumnock, stuff like that. Just two good teams that probably should be up there at the end of the season.
Partisan atmosphere, Mark Rowland. Partisan atmosphere.
As always. And if Cumnock go travelling.
We are going to wrap up the show there. I just want to thank Shankers, Wilson and Rory for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. We will be back on Monday for another show. We will recap the action over the weekend. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. We will speak to you all soon and subscribe to our YouTube channel and all our podcast channels, plus follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.